And this week, we are starting our new series here at City of Light Church called Planted. And the message today, the message on Sunday was the significance of the seed. And Pastor Brian started it all off saying it all begins with a seed.
It
What do you think
all
about that?
begins with the seed. So, I don't know, I was thinking about this
Okay.
because Pastor JoJo, back in the day, it's been a while now, it's been a couple years.
Back in the day.
She gave me these seeds, you guys. She gave me these seeds, these
Okay.
flower seeds. I didn't plant these, but they're symbolic, I promise.
Symbolic.
Also, the sell-by date is like 2017. Anyways. Anyways, she gave me these seeds. And this was part of a class that we were part of. She was facilitating. I was a part of the class.
Okay.
It was about business and entrepreneurship, and we're talking about planting seeds and sowing seeds. And it's a reminder that like everything starts off small.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things she said to me when she gave these to me was, if you look on the back, there's instructions for how to care for the seed. And I think
Oh,
that
that's good.
goes right into like this sermon series, right? About being
Exactly.
planted
Yeah.
and starting off small.
Mhm.
And I know we're like in the middle of that, Pastor Brian talked about like not despising your small beginnings.
Right.
So yeah, it all began with the seed.
I mean, what you gonna say?
I was gonna think about
ahead, Sophie.
Jack and the Beanstalk. Talk about a small beginning and
It turned into something.
and then that shot up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's the only thing I thought of when she was talking about the small growings.
I mean, he didn't think it was gonna be much. He woke up the next day and then did it.
But like with God though, right? It can happen that quickly.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, disclaimer: it may or may not happen,
but it might not.
Yeah.
So we don't want to
disclaimer.
get too excited about
Exactly.
thinking.
But it
that-
could. The
It
thing is,
could.
it could.
but
it
at
could
the-
happen.
Right. But at the end of the day, our trust is in Him,
Right.
regardless of if the seed grows tomorrow or it grows 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Or not 10 years. It's going to be growing the whole time, but gets to its fullness.
Stay faithful
years.
in those 10
Yes.
years.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm.
Because there's some
Mhm.
trees out there that look real beautiful now, but they started off real tiny like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I think it's good when you said the instructions,
Mhm.
because God gives us instructions about how to, care for our spirituality. You know what I'm saying? Care for our relationship with Him. Care for our faith. You know what I'm saying? Pastor Brian said God's word is a seed, and it's planted in our heart, and in our faith is what works it. Our faith is what nourishes it. You know what I'm saying? So we have the instructions that we need in His word that nourishes that seed, and then it is allowed to grow through us and grow in us. We just have to work it and care for it and actually care about caring for it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you could put it in the soil, but if you leave it dry, if you don't give it any sun, if you don't give it any water, it's just going to sit there.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So everybody starts off with that little seed, but how are you going to care for it? And I think that's where I see Pastor Brian kind of getting into this series about caring for that seed in your heart,
I'm gonna throw another analogy. Still like around, like going along planted, but for me, because I love to go to the gym. This
Do
is
it.
how I look at it. I work out one day.
Right.
My muscles, they feel big.
Mm.
I don't work out for the next several days. I didn't gain anything.
Right.
But being consistent and being disciplined, at the gym, lifting weights, in the kitchen, eating the right foods, you'll start to see that results that you want to see over time.
Right.
But it's like you got to make sure you're being consistent
Mhm.
in the beginning when you're wanting to accomplish your goals. And so that's another just thing that I thought of when you're being planted. It's a process, but you got to take care of yourself to make sure you get to that point where you want to be.
Right. No, I mean working out physically is definitely a good example when it comes to how we're supposed to take care of ourselves spiritually, because it just physically expresses how we should be doing it, spiritually. And that's kind of what he talked about that. Like he said sometimes faith isn't always the courage to go on to what's next, but real faith is enduring with commitment and consistency until you see results.
Mm.
So real faith stands strong and grounded in the storm. You know what I'm saying? So that's like what you were saying is in the consistency in God. It's not just because the more you pick up and go and pick up and go and pick up you go, you never have a chance for the roots to get deep.
Yeah.
You never have a chance for for your tree or for your plant to really get strong. You know what I'm saying? Because you're always thrown off by what's going on around you. You know what I'm saying? You never really stick to it, and
To
you
see
know,
it through. Like you
right.
just you out of fear maybe you just up and run, and you like I feel like at that point are you really trusting God if you're gonna up and leave something because it's like it's starting to look ugly, or you're just uncertain of what the outcome's going to be, or you could rest and be planted
Right.
in God and be like, I know what it looks like right now may not be good, but I'm gonna trust in you that you're gonna see me through this.
Yeah.
So I have a question to ask. When have you been in a time where you felt like giving up, but you had to push through, and you saw God work through that?
Good Lord.
Mm,
She asked a deep question.
she did.
What is a time that I felt that you said I had to stick it out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, rough it out.
Yeah.
Man,
Where like you wanted to give up, like you were on the edge of just, I'm done, and I'm ready to throw in the towel, but it's just like, but you saw Him like work through what you were going through, and God showing up.
well, outside of this, the whole walk in general. Um, man, obviously I go back to my relationship. I mean, that's what I know. Obviously, my relationship with my wife. There was one day we got an argument, and I just really want. It was at that point where I was like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm leaving. And I've never really felt that way. At this point, I was just like, I'm leaving. I don't want to deal with this. And a lot of it had to do with my pride. You know what I'm saying? Like I was dealing with my pride. I really didn't want to hear it. I was frustrated. I'm just gonna leave. But in that moment, her seeing me feel that way, she jumped on it and she threw everything that she had. You know what I'm saying? So that's why condolences to her in the sense of like she put her pride to the side and was like, look, I don't want you to leave. I want you to let's talk about it. And I was like, me seeing her care was like, you know what? I have been being a bum. So I need to be willing to hear her out. I need to be willing to talk about this, share my side, and we both opened up. It got so serious that it was just like, just walk away. But then at that moment, I seen God work in the compassion or in the understanding, in the willingness to put pride aside, and now our relationship is so much stronger from a moment like that because we allow God the chance to come into the situation and work through our conversation and work through our love for each other that we really did have. It was just I was so caught up in my feelings. I was so caught up in my emotions and the kids this and work this and stuff this. And I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to walk. I didn't know what I was going. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know if I was, if I was going to leave for 5 seconds. I was probably going to go sit on the porch and come back. But it was just the fact that I felt so much pressure to just want to leave.
Yeah.
That at that moment, I appreciate God. I feel like God blew on her heart and blew into the moment. And her stepping in front of me like, look, let's work this out. Let's do this. It definitely showed me how God can work. And now, like, we don't have that issue. Like, obviously, we get into it here and there because that's just being human. But we have enough understanding and openness with each other that, we're able to talk about these things. And there's no reason why any of us have to think about walking out the door.
That's good.
So.
I probably don't have anything as in depth as that, but for me, I think about when I was getting my graduate degree, and I stopped going to school straight up because it was me getting used to, like, I was working full time for the first time and like trying to balance that out, and I was just like, I was literally not doing assignments. I just was like, man, this is not like, I don't think I'm going to get this degree. Like I wanted to, but now I'm like, I was thinking about, man, I'm just putting myself in debt or whatever. But yeah, I was kind of like, man, I'm just going to stop and like, well, whatever. If I go back, I go back. But I think it was definitely like having good family support. And you talked about obviously Morgan and like she being able to like put her pride to the side. I think my family support really helped, and they're like, you're really close. So I was like, you shouldn't, stop at this point. And it's like, I think that's what really helped me to like, okay, I took maybe like 3 months off, and then I went back, and I was really thankful that the school let me back in after an extended break. So, and I was able to finish and get my degree. But I think it was really, and I think about when you have new experiences, and sometimes
Mhm.
like you're learning in your. I was like, "Bro, okay, I'm trying to work. I'm being an adult, honestly. I was
Yeah,
like, I'm
yes.
working. I'm trying to go to school. I'm trying to like have a social all that stuff. But it was new to me and figure out how to balance it all. So I think in that sense, it's like I wanted to give up and just be
Yeah.
like, I'll just go back to working and doing that part.
Yeah.
But I think with just being blessed by God to be able to still continue and being able to finish and just the family that I have, it was really nice to like just be able to push through and finish.
I think I relate similarly to that, Julius, because mine just happened a couple weeks ago, you guys.
Uh-oh.
That was it. I'm not normally the type of person to run away from things or like, I don't know, to feel like, oh, I can't handle this, right? But the past couple weeks, you guys, I have had so many new projects that I'm taking on, so many side projects that I'm like passionate about doing things on the side. And then on top of that, just like being here for the rewind, being present at City of Light. It was so much. I'm just like, God, I don't know if I'm okay.
Right.
I'm like, there were nights where it was like 7 p.m. on a Friday. I'm just like, God, I'm just gonna sit here and cry.
Oh man.
I'm like, cause it's Friday and I still got work to do. Like, what is going on?
Right.
So I feel like, again, like it's very similar. Like it's understanding how to juggle these things. Will you still press into ministry? Will you still press into the Word of God? Will you still press into His presence when things are not going the way that you thought they would go? And so I'm in a better place now, y'all. I'm happy to be here.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
No, that's
You
good
know,
stuff.
glad to be working on the things that I'm working on. But
Yes.
I'm telling you, like February, I was like,
Yeah.
if you want to take me out today, God,
Right.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
Like, I want to be what you got. The only reason why I'm here is because I still got,
Yes.
obviously, still got some purpose to do because I'm
Exactly.
still here.
And give yourself some credit. It's the shortest month of the year. So
Right,
right.
Deadlines were a little bit quicker.
No, I mean that's I think what I gather also from kind of what we shared, it makes me think of like getting rid of the stuff that's planted that doesn't need to be there. And a lot of the times we get distracted by those things that are there, that we are able to remove. I think back to at, last year we had somebody come in and clear out like this whole garden because we bought our house, but the house came with like this garden that had ferns everywhere. Like when I'm talking about everywhere, it was so many ferns. So what we did was we removed the garden and put a little patio right there. But it kind of makes me think of to where we just want to give up or we want to leave, but not realizing the potential of what's there if we just remove the unnecessary things. You know what I'm saying? Like if you stay planted where you are and remove those unnecessary things, you can see the potential of what's there. Like I would have never realized like how nice it looks with the patio right there if I wouldn't have been like, nah, or if I wouldn't have been like, let's just move all this out of here. I was just going to ignore it. I was just going to let it look ugly. I was just going to let it pester me. I was going to let it frustrate me every time I look at it. Like, what am I going to do with all these plants? Because I don't feel like moving them. I don't feel like removing them. But the fact that I had a plan, we got somebody in there. They took the whole garden out, and then we put something in there to replace it that now gives us a place of rest. It gives us a place of joy. We want to be there now. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the times you just got to remove those things like pride, like jealousy, like depression. The things that really are stuck there and stop you from seeing what God is actually doing and stop you from seeing the potential in the area around you because you're so distracted about what doesn't even belong there or doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, and it's a growing process, man. Like, and going through that process, it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna cause you to remove things that you don't know, like there's no longer a need for them.
Yeah.
And you're talking about your ferns or whatever. It's like like same with like weeds and stuff. You gotta prune them. Like you want to keep you have a vision. You saw what you wanted to do, and it's like, all right, well, I gotta remove this stuff, and then that's gonna help me, get what I, that patio area. So
Right.
I'm like, as we take internal looks at ourselves and be like, okay, what am I trying to accomplish and what do I need to do to get there? It might be requiring some sacrifices.
Right.
Like, okay, I don't need to, be involved with all this different social outings or whatever. Maybe I can cut back and, I can put that time back into God, back into His Word, and
Right.
then have Him speak to me as I am, spending more time with Him. And, it's a whole plethora of different things but it's literally looking at each of our individual lives and being like, just taking that. Oh man, she messed me up. I don't know what I said.
She just said just talking to your mic.
Oh, sorry. I
You
was
were-
feeling
you
it.
were
I was feeling
Derekking.
it. I was feeling it.
You're
Nah,
Derek.
but yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Long story short, though, just taking that internal assessment of yourself and
Mhm.
realizing what matters and what doesn't. That's it.
and even being able to ask for help.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes
Ooh,
because
I'm that
I
person.
knew when I looked at
Yeah.
I knew what I wanted, or I seen what I wanted. Where I was like, let me get rid of all this stuff. I want a patio right here. That would be a lot better for us. We could make better use of it. I knew for a fact that I wouldn't get a patio if I tried to do it just on my own. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the capability. I don't have the patience. I don't have to take this whole garden out of here. And it's because it was a lifted up garden. It was covered. It was surrounded by bricks. It had like plenty of fern. I'm like, I want to be able to do this by myself. But sometimes you got to be willing to understand. I can't do this on my own.
Yeah.
I need to ask somebody that knows what they're doing, or I need to ask somebody that has wisdom. I need to ask somebody. I need to be willing to ask for help because this is not a journey that I can take on my own. And if you're planted in the right place, you have the opportunity to see and understand who you can ask for help. Or just be able to even in a situation where no human can help, you always know that you have consistent help with God. You have everlasting help with God. And that goes to the scripture that I like, Jeremiah 17,
Mm.
where it says, do you have that up, Dina?
I do
No.
not, but I could
I got
find
it.
it.
No, I got it. It's right here. Okay.
Okay.
But blessed are those who trust in the Lord and have made the Lord their hope and confidence. They are like trees planted along a riverbank with roots that reach deep into the water. Such trees are not bothered by the heat or worried by long months of drought. Their leaves stay green and they never stop producing fruit.
I think what you said was really good, Derek, about asking for help because I think what Pastor Brian mentioned, it's like a seed is the parent attempt to reproduce themselves, right?
Yeah.
And then it's also like a seed is also the fruit of previous productivity.
Right.
And so I think that goes to show that yes, there are people that are walking ahead of you. There are people that are walking alongside of you. There are people that, that are just a seed that you're trying to nurture, right?
Right.
And so I think understanding your environment and knowing, okay, this is what I'm reflecting on. This is what I see. This is how we're gonna get there. I'm gonna have the courage to ask someone who's been there before to help.
Right. Right. And being rooted, like the scripture says, relating to it's like being rooted and grounded in God in that way allows you the opportunity to have that rest in God and can actually see where you might need to ask for help. You know what I'm saying? You have the opportunity to build those relationships. You have the opportunity to to see things from his point of view rather than just every time something happens, you get up, you go over here, you get up, you go over here. But you never are in a place where you're able to just get your roots down and be able to sit back and see and watch and observe and understand, all right, God, what do you need me to do here? Because if I'm resting back in God, God can give me the guidance that I need. You know what I'm saying? He'll tell me, talk to them, or he'll tell me, reach out to them, or he'll tell me, no, just stay here, don't say anything, or he'll tell me, no, step out on this because
Yeah.
I'm in this place. And a lot of the times we get so caught up on the physical aspect of it, like we talk about being planted physically. Really, inside of you is what's supposed to be planted in God. Like your understanding, your heart is supposed to be God. So when your heart is with God, regardless of where you are physically, He will always lead you and guide you in the right direction, where you're supposed to go. So.
And I'll add to that. First, let me say something talking about helping or asking for help.
Right.
Just a little funny story because I'm getting more experience with iMovie because I have to do a lot of videos. But
Oh yeah.
one, I never owned a Mac, first of all. So even
What?
navigating a Mac computer
I still
was
haven't had
very
one to this
challenging.
day, I'm sorry.
Okay, so you're on the same page. And then trying to do iMovie stuff is difficult. But shout out to my roommate because he had experience or he has a Mac and he has experience. So I've asked him countless times already to like, hey, can you show me how to do this? Or Shay, where can I find this on the Mac? But I think it's something I'm not accustomed to about like going to somebody for help. But I'm like, it makes it 10 times easier when you do go to somebody who is like knowledgeable in that. And so I say all that to say like when, as you mentioned, people are walking ahead of us that have already, that is already producing fruit.
Yeah.
And it's like when you can, have that a relationship with somebody who can also help align you
Right.
and get you in that position, I mean, take full advantage of it. I was like, there's no reason for you not to ask for help. I think at the end of the day, as we're producing fruit, we want other people to, take up after what we're doing at least and be like, hopefully it resonates in their heart too, that they
Right.
want to be able to produce more fruit and help other people out and go out of their way,
Right.
Right.
and just put people in the best position possible. So that's definitely what I just thought of as you guys were speaking.
No, I mean it's good, like especially because Dina brought it up in the sense of God, like as a parent's seed. A parent plants a seed and they watch their seed grow in the sense of God planting His seed in us, and wanting to see it grow. You know what I'm saying? Like He wants to see His seed produce, but we have to stay planted in Him so that He can actually see it through. But we don't allow God the chance to see it through because we're so worried about what life is telling us. We forget about what God told us, or about what God has for us, or what God is to us. We allow life to distract us in the things that we see, the storm blowing, the wind blowing, the rain, you know what I'm saying, all these things that go on in our life, and we forget, oh yeah, I do got that seed in me.
It reminds me of I don't know, I'm not good at biblical scripture, at least remembering them, but in Matthew it talks about the story of the birds. Like they just they don't worry about their next meal, they just go and get it whenever it's time. And it's like we got to have that kind of mindset that as long as God is in us,
that's good.
Everything else will take care of itself. So these birds wake up and they're like, we just gonna find something to eat. We ain't know where it was.
There's a worm out there somewhere.
Exactly. And it's like that's the kind of
that's
mentality right there. Yep.
And I think, and then from the perspective of being planted, right?
Right.
I like what you said, Derek, about the rain and the winds and everything, but that ultimately also nourishes you. Like the rain is nourishing you, the wind is making you stronger, or
That's
you
good.
moving in the right direction so that you can stand up.
That's
you
good.
know. And so I think a lot of times that's what our storms have meaning.
Right.
Our storms and our winds have meaning in our life. It's not there without a purpose.
And I think the underlying message within his message, Pastor Brian's message, is the perspective. Because a lot, we're all going through life. We're all going through a tough time. We're all dealing with things. We're all dealing with the journey that we're on. There's going to be those things that are there, but how are you looking at it? Your perspective, like you said, the rain can look a certain way. It can look scary. It can look, but it's nourishing you.
Mm-hmm.
The wind can look like it's trying to take me out. Not realizing if I stand, it's making me stronger. You get what I'm saying? So it's really about your perspective on how you look at what God is bringing you. Because if every time something happens, we're like, God, why is this happening to me? In that way, you know what I'm saying? Instead of you know what, God?
That's me though, not gonna lie sometimes. God, why is this happening?
Yes.
But, I mean, we all get like that though. We all get I don't understand. My wife had to go through a whole, she had a mass growing on her knee. She had to get a surgery to get it removed. And throughout that time, I've never felt so much anxiety just from watching her go through it, from having to deal with the kids, and it was just tough because she couldn't get around. She had to get the surgery. But to see her progressing, to see her back on her feet, to see how things, especially because she's pregnant too, so that was bringing anxiety because I was like, oh man, what's that? The baby, what's gonna happen? So all these thoughts, overthinking so much when you could just be like, you know what, God, I put it in your hands because now I see how it can be better. Because she's literally had that mass on her knee her whole life. You know what I'm saying? It's been growing since she was little, and it finally just got to a point where it didn't have any more room to grow. So all the pain she was feeling was it trying to grow and having no room. So now that it's off, she doesn't have that with her anymore. So when she gets her movement back, when she's able to walk, she won't have that ailing her anymore. So I don't know that, but God does. So now that I look at it, I'm like, oh. I see how it actually was working. So we don't trust God. We don't know things are going to work out for the good. Even when it looks like hell, we don't really realize, oh, you know what, God, your hand is in this. Or we don't trust that, you know what, God, I'm going to give it to you. Because now it can be even better for her than what it looked like she was going through. So I appreciate God showing me that and me realize, you know what, my anxiety was because of my overthinking. My anxiety was because I felt like it was so much, but I didn't give it over to you. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't giving it over to you but you clearly had a plan. You clearly know what you were doing. I don't know what you were saving her from, but you were saving her from something. Even though she was going through so much pain, you letting her know that was there now. you know, I don't know what you were saving her from in the future if it stayed in there, you know, or if, you know, so yeah. But yeah, I mean, we gotta be willing to just take a step back and see, like, God, what are you doing, and not focus so much on why, God, crying, and because when you murmur and you complain, you miss it, and you keep on missing it, and you keep on missing it. We're so focused on murmuring and complaining that you don't see, you know, like when I'm making my kids dinner and they're crying for food, you don't see what's happening.
I'm in the process.
You don't
Right,
understand
right.
that there's stuff on the stove that I'm cooking, but because you're hungry now,
Yeah.
you're allowing your hunger now to distract you from seeing that and now you cause more problems by getting in my way. You know what I'm saying? We don't realize what God is doing. We get in his way with our murmuring and complaining. And we mess the process up. When you could just sit back, you know what? God, I know you're doing something. I don't necessarily see what you're cooking, you know, because I'm not as high as you. I can't necessarily see over the top of the stove, but I can sit back and see you're doing something. So I'm just going to wait and see how it plays out.
Yeah, because you know it's gonna be worth it at the end of the day. So,
Right.
yeah. And my mantra is like, nothing is as bad as it seems.
Right.
And I think I think about that a lot whenever I go through certain, trials and tribulations. But I'm like, it's never that bad. It could be way worse. And so, one to also tells me to value the life that I have and where I'm at. But then also, just that reassurance is that I know His hand is in everything, and that's just another comforting piece to know that I can't see it, but I don't know what's gonna happen, but
Right.
I know who you are and what your word is. So,
Right.
Yeah, and I think I'm just gonna bring it back to the seed.
You're good, keeping us planted.
But,
Good job.
but I really liked and just appreciated when Pastor Brian talked about like everything for the seed to survive is in there. Like the DNA, everything is already there.
Right.
And it's small, but everything that you need to survive is already there, and
Right.
it's that way with God too. It's like everything you need he has already given to you. It's already within you. And again, like yeah, sometimes it's just in your head. Things are not as bad as it seems.
Right.
It's just it's in my head because I'm losing control of it because I have anxiety, and it's a matter of giving that up and trusting that everything that I need God has already supplied me with.
Yeah, we get to the point where, like, I was kind of talking about, like, when a tree is small. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the toughest part of a tree growing. Is when it's small and it actually has to become a bigger tree and get to its full potential, or get to its place where it's so planted, it's so in the ground that it's big and it consistently now is giving fruit out. You know what I'm saying? Like and Pastor Brian was talking about the fruit, and it's like we don't give ourselves a chance to get to that point where we're producing fruit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now we're so caught up in still growing into a big tree that we don't give ourselves a chance to get to that point where we're so grounded that now we produce fruit. Now people can actually feed off of what God has done in us. You know what I'm saying? And then it becomes seed, that now you're planted. You know what I'm saying? Wintertime might come, but I know this is just a season because I'm planted in God, so when the spring comes back, my fruit's going to come back. You know what I'm saying? We have to understand being planted in God that there's going to be those rough times, there's going to be those droughts. But because I'm planted in God, I know that the fruit is coming. I know that like you said, it's always in me. It's not what the snow does or the cold weather does. It's the fact that I have the ability to produce. So when the season permits and God shows up, he's like, all right, I need that fruit that's in you. Now the fruit begins to grow. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been planted in God so long and been so consistent that people are able to consistently get that fruit out of me or get what they need out of me because I've been planted.
Yeah.
And I'm not, every time I was in that rough small tree stage, I wasn't uprooting myself every time because it was so frustrating. Now I'm over here as a small tree. Now I'm over here as a small tree. Now
Could you imagine?
But I'm not able to get anything accomplished because I never get to the point where I can produce fruit.
Just a bunch of stumps all around the yard.
Bunch of little twigs sticking out of the ground.
Right.
You know.
But going back to what you said, that everything we need is, within the seed, and it reminds me of the verse. I think it's in John, "Abide in me."
Right.
Yeah, and I don't remember it off the top of my head exactly, but when you do that, it's simple. I was like, he doesn't require too much. He's like, follow me, and the rest is gonna take care of itself. So just like that little seed has everything to survive, you know, in
That's
our
good.
in our heart and in our spirit, we got everything to survive. And it's just you gotta remember that, and you know, just continue to talk to God and pray on things and stuff, and just know that you keep that line of communication open, because everything you need, it's already there.
Right.
I think in that same verse too, it talks about like being pruned, right? So it's
Yeah.
like everything that's not good for you will be
Taking it
pruned
out.
anyway
Right.
when
It's a
you're
makeover.
when you're rooted in the
Right.
word and God.
And that's because you're like you said, that's because you're planted.
Hmm.
Like it makes it easy when you're planted in God, because He's taking care of everything anyway. He knows when to prune something. He knows when to remove something. He knows when to add something. You know what I'm saying? If you're planted, He knows what He's doing with you, and it makes it easier because you're like, all right, God, I'm doing this with you, and I know that you're doing it. I know that this pruning is on purpose. I know that this is on purpose. You know what I'm saying?
It might hurt a little.
It might hurt a little.
I heard a
But
lot of.
but
it
I
might hurt a lot.
understand.
A lot of, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's. I mean, it's the pain that you deal with in God is not in vain.
Not
But
at
we
all.
go
Yeah,
out
that's
into
true.
the world, we keep removing ourselves from here to here to here,
Mhm.
going through so much that really could almost mean nothing,
Yeah.
because we're not planting ourselves in God and actually going through the necessary pain. There's necessary pain and there's unnecessary pain. And a lot of times we put ourselves through so much unnecessary pain because we don't trust Him.
Mm.
You know. So I mean, everybody out there, we appreciate you watching. We hope that you stick with this sermon series that City of Light is in, because we just like us, we need help to stay planted. And I want everybody out there, I want y'all to know, like, what you're going through is on purpose. What you're going through is working out for God's good. If you just sit back and you stay planted in God, He's gonna do the pruning that He needs. He's gonna give you the watering that you need. He's gonna give you the light that you need, and it's all a process to get you to be fruitful the way that God wants you to be fruitful. So we appreciate all you watching the Rewind. If you want to keep on supporting the Rewind and keep on supporting City of Light Church, check out the link below. Otherwise, we appreciate you. We love y'all, and have a great night.